Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to another video on Arms and the Man. So we have already finished learning Act 1. So if you haven't watched any videos of Act 1, I want you to stop watching this video and go and watch the 5 videos I made on Act 1 first and come back here. So in this video, we are going to start off with Act 2. So let me read you the long stage directions, as is very characteristic of Bernard Shaw. He always provides very long stage directions, and here also in Act 2, even though it's not as long as Act 1, he provides such a long description. And I hope that I find you all in good health and cheer. Let's go ahead and read Act 2. So, the 6th of March, 1886. In the garden of Major Petkoff's house. It is a fine spring morning. The garden looks fresh and pretty. Beyond the paling, the tops of a couple of minarets can be seen, showing that there is a valley there with the little town in it. A few miles further, the Balkan Mountains rise and shut in the landscape. Looking towards them from within the garden, the side of the house is seen on the left, with a garden door reached by a little flight of steps. On the right, the stable yard with its gateway encroaches on the garden. There are fruit bushes along the paling and house, covered with washing spread out to dry. A path runs by the house, rises by 2 steps at the corner where it turns out of sight. In the middle, a small table with 2 bent wood chairs at it is laid for breakfast with Turkish coffee, pot, cups, rolls, etc. But the cups have been used and the bread broken. There is a wooden garden seat along the wall on the right. So right now, we see the events happening. The Act 2 events happen on the 6th of March, 1886. The Act 1 actually took place late November 1885. So we can see that at least 4 months passed in between. 4 മാസം കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള സംഭവങ്ങളാണ് Act 2-ൽ വരുന്നത്. And Act 2-ന്റെ the setting of Act 2 is Major Petkoff's garden. Act 1 was set in Raina Petkoff's bedroom, and Act 2 is set in Major Petkoff's garden. It is on the side of the house. So we see a garden. It is very fresh and pretty, and there's landscape can be seen. We see a couple of minarets. അവിടുത്തെ ബിൽഡിങ്ങുകളുടെയൊക്കെ മിനാറുകൾ കാണാൻ പറ്റും. We see the influence of Turkish Empire. Up till recently, Bulgaria was actually ruled by Turkish Ottoman Empire. So even in the architecture, we can see a Muslim element. And then let's look at the setting of the garden. We can even see the landscape, the Balkan Mountains at a distance. And then on one side of the stage, on the right side, there is a stable yard. They might keep horses or something like that. And then there are some fruit bushes. And what's ironic is that they have hung clothing there. തുണിയൊക്കെ വിരിച്ചിട്ടേക്കുവാണ് ഈ ബുഷിലൊക്കെ തുണിയൊക്കെ വിരിച്ചിട്ടേക്കുവാണ്. I already told you in Act 1 about these middle class tendencies of Petkoff household. Maybe because they recently became rich, they haven't completely left their middle class tendencies. They have all the luxuries, but they don't know how to keep it up. So they have like elaborate garden, fresh garden and all, but on top of the fruit bushes they are hanging out clothes to dry. And then on one side of the house there is a path. In the middle of the garden we see a small table, and we see some pots and plates and all. There's Turkish coffee, which is very tasty. Some cups, rolls, etc. We can see that the breakfast is already done. There is a remains of bread broken. That means that somebody recently had food there. And then there is a wooden garden seat against the wall on the right too. Let's see who all are there in this scene at the moment. LOUKA, smoking a cigarette, is standing between the table and the house. turning her back with angry disdain on a manservant who is lecturing her. He is a middle-aged man of cool temperament and low but clear and keen intelligence, with the complacency of the servant who values himself on his rank in servitude, and the imperturbability of the accurate calculator who has no illusions. He wears a white Bulgarian costume, jacket with embroidered borders, sash, wide knickerbockers, and decorated gaiters. His head is shaved up to the crown, giving him a high Japanese forehead. His name is NICOLA. So we see two people on the stage. They are LOUKA. We already met LOUKA in Act 1. She is a maid servant of the household. And she is talking to somebody who is a man servant of the household. This guy's name is NICOLA. He is middle-aged. We can see that he is advising her or scolding her, and she is not very happy about it. That is where we see both of them. And about this man, show again provides a description about this man. He is middle-aged. He has a cool temperament, and he's definitely intelligent. Looking at him, we can see that he has intelligence, but he knows his position in the household. He knows that he is a servant, and he knows his position, and he acts accordingly. Even though he is an intelligent man, he understands that at times you have to act like a fool. And then also looking at him, we can see that he is an accurate calculator. He knows when and where to take risks and how to behave in the household. എവിടെ എങ്ങനെ നോക്കി പെരുമാറണം എന്നുള്ളത് നന്നായിട്ട് അറിയാം നമ്മുടെ നിക്കോളയ്ക്ക്. ഇനി അയാളുടെ കോസ്റ്റ്യൂം, ഹി ഈസ് വെയറിങ് സ്ട്രിക്ട്ലി എ ബൾഗേറിയൻ കോസ്റ്റ്യൂം worn by man servants of households. Now let's see what is going on between NICOLA and LOUKA. We have started with Act 2 of Arms and the Man. So Act 2, let's look at the setting. Setting is at the garden of the Petkoff house. This is just a model of the stage, how the stage is supposed to be. So it is a garden. In the middle of the garden, there is a small round garden table with a couple of chairs in it, and there are some remains of the breakfast. So breakfast already കഴിച്ചു, and there are some remains like broken bread and some cups and plates and all. And then on one side we see the house, and on the other side actually there is supposed to be a stable. സ്റ്റേബിളിലോട്ട് കുതിരയൊക്കെ കിട്ടുന്ന സ്ഥലത്തോട്ടുള്ള ഒരു എൻട്രൻസും കൂടെ ഉണ്ട്, ബട്ട് ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് ഷോൺ ഇൻ ദിസ് പ്രോട്ടോടൈപ്പ് എനിവേ. ദിസ് ഇസ് ജസ്റ്റ് എ മോഡൽ. ആൻഡ് on one side, on another side, there are some bushes on which clothing is being hanged. അതെല്ലാം ഇതിനകത്ത് കാണിക്കുന്നില്ല. And let's look at the time. The time is March 1886. The previous act took place in November 1885. So this is like 4 months from the first act. So in between the acts, a lot of things have happened which we have missed. ഇപ്പം രണ്ട് ആക്ടിന് ഇടയ്ക്ക് കുറേ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഓൾറെഡി നടന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞു. ആൻഡ് വി ആർ ലെഫ്റ്റ് ഇൻ ആൻറ്റിസിപ്പേഷൻ. വി ആർ കെപ്റ്റ് ഇൻ ആൻറ്റിസിപ്പേഷൻ of what is going to happen, what happened in between. So we will get all that details in Act 2. Okay, so this happens on a fine spring morning, and in the garden these two people are there. There is LOUKA, we already saw her in the last act, and this is the man servant of the household named NICOLA. So you can see that NICOLA is a little older than LOUKA. Even in this particular picture, LOUKA looks older, but LOUKA is actually quite young and beautiful. This is their uniform, the kind of clothes worn by Bulgarian servants at that point of time. So this is what they are dressed according to the fashion of the time. So let's see what NICOLA and LOUKA are talking about. And if we look at their body language, we can see that LOUKA is actually quite defensive. She doesn't like whatever NICOLA is talking about, whereas NICOLA is actually chastising her. He is patronizing her about something. So he has some superior airs here. Whereas Luca is also not at all happy about what Nicola is telling her. Let's see what the both of them are talking about.
Be warned in time, Luca. Mend your manners. I know the mistress. She's so grand that she never dreams that any servant would dare to be disrespectful to her. But if she once suspects that you are defying her, out you go.
I do defy her. I will defy her. What do I care for her?
If you quarrel with the family, I never can marry you. It's the same as if you quarreled with me.
You take her part against me, do you?
I shall always be dependent on the goodwill of the family. When I leave their service and start a shop in Sofia, their custom will be half my capital. Their bad word would ruin me.
You have no spirit. I should like to catch them saying a word against me.
I should have expected more sense from you, Luca. But you're young. You're young.
Yes, and you like me for the better for it, don't you? But I know some family secrets they wouldn't care to have told, young as I am. Let them quarrel with me if they dare.
Do you know what they would do if they heard you talk like that?
What could they do?
Discharge you for untruthfulness. Who would believe any stories you told after that? Who would give you another situation? Who in this house would dare be seen speaking to you ever again? How long would your father be left on this little farm? Child, you don't know the power such high people have over the likes of you and me when we try to rise out of our poverty against them. Look at me, 10 years in their service. Do you think I know no secrets? I know things about the mistress that she wouldn't have the master know for 1,000 levas. I know things about him that she wouldn't let him hear the last of for 6 months if I brought them to her. I know things about Reina that would break off her match with Sergius if...
How do you know? I never told you.
So that's your little secret, is it? I thought it might be something like that. Well, you take my advice and be respectful, and make the mistress feel that no matter what you know or don't know, they can depend on you to hold your tongue and serve the family faithfully. That's what they like, and that's how you'll make the most out of them.
You have the soul of a servant, Nicola.
Yes, that's the secret of success in our service.
A loud knocking with a whip handle on the wooden door is heard from the stable yard. Let's see who comes. So, at the beginning of Act 2, we see Nicola and Luca talking, and let's see what these two are talking about. So, Nicola is actually giving some warnings to Luca. Nicola is chastising or patronizing Luca. He's saying that be warned in time, Luca, mend your manners. I don't really like your manners. You have to change your manners. You are just a servant in this household. You have to listen to your mistress, that is Catherine. And our mistress Catherine is very grand and all. So you shouldn't be disrespectful to our mistress Catherine. And if she suspects that you are disrespecting her, your position in this family will be lost. And we can see that Luca is actually very proud of herself. Luca's pride we can actually see in this particular scene. Luca is very impatient about Nicola's scolding and advice and all. She brushes off Nicola's concern. She has a disdain, ഒരു പുച്ഛമൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട് നിക്കോളയോട് ലൂക്കയ്ക്ക്. And she also has an air of arrogance. We feel like she is quite arrogant at some point of time. But we can't quite point it on arrogance. We can say that she is quite proud. Even though she is a mere maid in the house, she considers herself as much better and that she deserves much better. ഇപ്പോൾ ലൂക്ക ഒരു സാധാരണ സെർവൻ്റ് ആണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ലൂക്കയ്ക്ക് സ്വന്തം പൊസിഷനിൽ വളരെ ഒരു അഭിമാനമൊക്കെയുള്ള കൂട്ടത്തിലാണ്. ആരുടെയും മുന്നിൽ തല കുനിക്കാത്ത ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ് ലൂക്ക എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരാൾ. And then Nicola says, if you quarrel with the family, I never can marry you. It's the same as if you quarrel with me. So we get a new information that Luca and Nicola are engaged to be married. But we can definitely see that it is not of Luca's choice or liking. Luca'യുടെ യാതൊരു ചോയ്സും അല്ല ഇവരുടെ ഒരു എൻഗേജ്മെന്റ്. മേ ബി നിക്കോള ആൻഡ് ലൂക്ക ഗോട്ട് എൻഗേജ്ഡ് സോ ദാറ്റ് ഷീ ക്യാൻ ബി പ്രൊട്ടക്റ്റഡ് ഇൻ ദ അപ്പർ ക്ലാസ് സൊസൈറ്റി. So the problem with a young and beautiful maid like her working in a big house like this is she can be targeted by men. So if she has the protection of being engaged to a man, she will be safe. Maybe it is such an engagement of convenience. So we don't know. Now Nicola wants that if you keep up your bad manners, I will not marry you. Now LOUKA says that you are taking the part of the Petkoff's against me. And then again, Nicola reveals something that he has some future plans. He aspires to open a shop in Sofia with the family's blessing. അപ്പോൾ എന്നും ഒരു ജോലിക്കാരനായിട്ട് നിൽക്കാനല്ല, he has certain future aspirations. There is a nearby town called Sofia. So he intends to open a shop in Sofia, and he plans to do with the blessing and goodwill of the Petkoff family. And if they don't have the goodwill of the Petkoff family, then the business will not be that good. That is why Nicola is actually sticking with the family through thick and thin. So we can see that there are certain aspirations for the working class to make their life better. But even these aspirations are based on the goodwill of the upper class. But now LOUKA says that, no, I don't mind anything about it. I know certain family secrets, and if they misbehave with me, it won't be good for them. എനിക്ക് ചില ഫാമിലി സീക്രറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ അറിയാം, അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്നെ തരം താഴ്ത്താൻ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാൻ നല്ലത് കൊടുക്കും എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ ലൂക്കയും പറയുന്നു. So what is the secret that LOUKA knows? We know that obviously. It is that LOUKA knows that there was an enemy soldier hiding in Raina's bedroom on the night of the fusillade. Okay, after the Battle of Slivnitsa. So she is trying to use this information to make her position rigid in the household. But Nicola says that, that would never work. If they come to know that you are talking such things about them behind their back, you would be the one losing something. നഷ്ടങ്ങളെല്ലാം നിനക്ക് മാത്രമായിരിക്കും എന്ന് നിക്കോള ലൂക്കയോട് പറയുന്നു. So what is this loss? First of all, they can discharge you for untruthfulness. So first thing is she can lose her job. After that, even if she seeks job in another house or any other place, she will have a bad reputation of being dishonest and spreading rumors about her employers. So all the loss will be suffered by LOUKA. So Nicola is warning LOUKA to be, to be a little more careful and to behave better with the family. And Nicola also reveals that he has worked for 10 years with this family, and he certainly knows a lot more secrets about this family than LOUKA. So we get the impression that LOUKA must have recently joined the household, whereas Nicola has been working here for 10 years. Then we can, Nicola says that he knows secrets about the master, that is Major Petkoff. He knows secrets about Catherine. He even knows secrets about Raina. Now suddenly LOUKA gasps because the secret that LOUKA knows is about Raina. And LOUKA says, how do you know? I never told you about that secret. So Nicola finally understands what was in LOUKA's mind and what was a secret she actually knew about the family. So that's your little secret, is it? I thought it might be something like that. Well, I will give you an advice. You have to be respectful towards the family. Your future actually depends on it. If you talk anything bad about them, it won't result in good for you. Okay, now LOUKA, she says that you have the soul of a servant, Nicola. The emotion which LOUKA has for Nicola is one of disdain, pucham. Because even though LOUKA is a servant, she considers herself better. She doesn't consider that she is a lower human being than the family itself. Whereas Nicola he has a spirit of a servant, a soul of a servant. He is fully immersed in servitude. So let's look at what happens here. The lower class people, they have aspirations for betterment, but all these aspirations are dependent on the goodwill of the upper class. Then LOUKA says that she knows about a secret, and Nicola says that he knows many secrets than LOUKA, because and he has been a servant for 10 years. So this also reveals the nature of servitude. Once you are a servant in an upper class family, you are exposed to certain dirty secrets of a family. But being a servant, you learn the art of turning a blind eye towards all for the goodwill of the ഫാമിലി. ഈ ഫാമിലിയുടെ പ്രീതി പിടിച്ചു പറ്റാൻ വേണ്ടി ഇതെല്ലാം കണ്ടില്ല എന്ന് നടിക്കും. അതാണ് സെർവൻസിന്റെ ഒരു പ്ലൈറ്റ്. Then again, when NICOLA warns LOUKA that she might lose her job and she might not get another job if she talks bad about this family, this says about the privilege of upper class and the vulnerability of the lower class, of the working class. Once they lose an opportunity, once the working class loses an opportunity, it is very hard for them to find another one. Whereas the upper class, they have a much bigger privilege over the working class. Then we also understand the nature of relationship between NICOLA and LOUKA. Although they seem to be engaged, it seems like this is an engagement of convenience rather than a romantic engagement. Also, LOUKA has disdain or scorn towards NICOLA, whereas NICOLA treats LOUKA as a little girl who doesn't know how to behave. So the dynamics between them, it is not that good. Moreover, in this conversation, it is revealed that LOUKA has pride and disdain. It is also revealed. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this conversation. So while they are talking, we can hear a loud knocking on one side of the stage from the side of the stable yard. So somebody is interrupting their conversation. So let's see who this character is. So we're going to read the next part of Act 2, and we needed another reader for this section. So let me introduce my little brother, Amal. Okay, introduce.
My name is Amal Sijon. I'm her cousin, and I'm studying in Christnagar, Kavadia here. In 8th standard now.
Okay, so he is an 8th grade student. So he will be helping us to read this section. So let's start. So at the end of the last section, we heard that somebody is knocking on the door. Okay, let's see who that is.
Holla there, Nicola.
Master, back from the war?
My word for it. LOUKA, the war's over. Off with you and get some fresh coffee.
You will never put the soul of a servant into me. Now, Major Petkoff comes from the stable yard, followed by NICOLA. He is a cheerful, excitable, insignificant, unpolished man of about 50. Naturally unambitious, except as to his income and his importance in the local society. But just now greatly pleased with the military work which the war has thrust on him as a man of consequence in his town. The fever of plucky patriotism which the Serbian attack roused in all the Bulgarians has pulled him through the war. But he is obviously glad to be home again.
Breakfast out there, huh?
Yes, sir. The mistress and Miss Raina have just gone in.
Go in and say I come and get me some fresh coffee.
It's coming, sir. Have you told the mistress?
Yes, she's coming.
Well, the Serbians haven't run away with you, have they?
No, sir.
That's right. Have you brought me some cognac?
Cognac.
Cognac?
Here, sir.
That's right.
Catherine, who, having at this early hour made only a very perfunctory toilet, wears a Bulgarian apron over a once brilliant but now half worn out dressing gown and a coloured handkerchief tied over her thick black hair, comes from the house with Turkish slippers on her bare foot, looking astonishingly handsome and stately under all the circumstances. LOUKA goes into the house. Now I'll be reading Catherine and he'll be reading Petkoff. Okay. My dear Paul, what a surprise for us. Have they brought you fresh coffee?
Yes, LOUKA's been looking after me. The war's over. The treaty was signed 3 days ago at Bucharest, and the decree of our army to be demobilized was issued yesterday.
Paul, have you left the Austrians force you to make peace?
My dear, they didn't consult me. What could I do? But of course, we saw to it that the treaty was an honorable one. It declares peace.
Peace?
But no friendly relations. Remember that. They wanted to put that in, but I insisted on its being struck out. What more could I do?
You could have annexed Serbia and made Prince Alexander Emperor of the Balkans. That's what I would have done.
I don't doubt it at least, my dear. But I should have had to subdue the whole Austrian Empire first, and that would have kept me too long away from you. I miss you greatly.
Ah,
And how have you been, my dear?
oh, my usual sore throats, that's all.
That comes from washing your neck every day. I've often told you so.
Nonsense, Paul.
I don't believe in going too far with these modern customs. All this washing can't be good for health. It's not natural. There was an Englishman at Philadelphia who used to wet himself all of the cold water every morning when he got up. Disgusting. It all comes from the English. The climate makes them so dirty that they have to be perpetually washing themselves. Look at my father. He never had a bath in his life, and he lived to be 98, and the healthiest man in Bulgaria. I don't mind a good wash once a week to keep up my position, but I once a day is carrying the thing to a ridiculous extreme.
You are a barbarian at heart still, Paul. I hope you behave yourself before all those Russian officers.
I did my best. I took care to let them know that we had a library.
Ah, but you didn't tell them that we have an electric bell in it. I had one put up.
What's an electric bell?
You touch a button, something tinkles in the kitchen, and the NICOLA comes up.
Why not shout for him?
Civilized people never shout for their servants. I've learned that while you were away.
Well, I'll tell you something I learned too. Civilized people don't hang out their washing to dry their visitors can see it. So you'd better have all that put somewhere else.
Oh, that's absurd, Paul. I don't believe really refined people notice such things.
At the gate, Nicola.
The Sergius. Hold on, Nicola.
Oh, don't shout, Paul. It really isn't nice.
Bosh. Nicola,
Yes, sir?
are you deaf? Don't you hear Major Saranoff knocking? Bring him round this way.
Yes, sir.
You must talk to him, my dear, until Reina takes him off our hands. He bores my life out about our not promoting him. Over my head, if you please.
He certainly ought to be promoted when he marries Raina. Besides, the country should insist on having at least one native general.
Yes, so that he could throw away the whole brigades instead of regiments. It's no use, my dear. He hasn't the slightest chance of promotion until we are quite sure that the peace will be lasting.
So while Nicola and Luca they are talking out in the garden just after the breakfast of the family, we see a little turn of events. A dramatic complication occurs. A new character arrives. We have heard of this character even before. So this character is Major Petkoff. So let's see. So first his voice is heard from the outside. He says, hola, hola there, Nicola. So I'm at the gate. Please open, Nicola. That's what he says. And Luca becomes so surprised. So master's back from the war so early. And Nicola is also finally relieved that the war is over. So Nicola first sends Luca inside to get fresh coffee for Major Petkoff. Obviously, Petkoff traveled a long distance to reach home. So he needs some fresh coffee. So Luca goes in to fetch coffee. And as she goes inside, Luca says that you will never put the soul of a servant into me. എന്നെ ഒരിക്കലും ഒരു വേലക്കാരിയാക്കാൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പറ്റത്തില്ല. So it again highlights the pride in Luca's character. Now let's look at Major Petkoff. He has arrived here. He comes into the garden. He's very cheerful, excitable, and he looks very unpolished. വലിയ മാനേഴ്സും കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നുമില്ല. Even though he is a high-ranking major in the Bulgarian army, he is quite unpolished. He is in his 50s. He doesn't have much ambition. അങ്ങനെ ഉയരങ്ങളിലേക്ക് പോകണം എന്ന് ambition ഒന്നുമില്ല. But because he is very important, he has an important position in the local community. When the war arrived, he was actually made to go into the war front. So those times it was like that. No male could actually escape being a part of the army. But because he belonged to a rich family, he was made a high-ranking army official. But recently he has learned about patriotism and nationalism because he has just been in the war front. So he is quite patriotic. But now he is very happy that he is back at home. വാറൊക്കെ കഴിഞ്ഞു വീട്ടിലെത്തിയതിൽ ഒരു സമാധാനമായിട്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് പുള്ളി. So he is quite wealthy by Bulgarian standards, but he is quite unread and he is rude. He doesn't know the manners. Again, it is suggested in many parts of the play that this family recently came to be wealthy. Otherwise, they might have belonged to the upper middle class. So they recently came to the upper class society. So they still haven't learned the manners of the upper class. So Major Petkoff comes and he's quite happy to be back home. So he's asking first of all, oh, you guys had breakfast out here. So he is served. NICOLA goes in to get him some stuff, and LOUKA has come with coffee and cognac. That is his favorite kind of drink. So without even telling, LOUKA knows what to serve this man of the household. That is his favorite drink. He always mixes this alcohol, cognac, with his coffee. So LOUKA brings that. So we can see here that Petkoff is flirting very innocently with LOUKA. And LOUKA reacts very diplomatically to it. So even though the flirting is very innocent here, this is actually an example of the kind of encounters a beautiful maid might have in an upper class household. She might be targeted for her beauty. Even though Petkoff is doing it innocently, she might not be protected in all circumstances. Maybe that's why she is engaged to NICOLA, so she will be better protected. But LOUKA is very diplomatic. Petkoff, oh, Serbians ആരും നിന്നെ കൊണ്ടൊന്നും പോയില്ലല്ലോ. They haven't run away with you, have you? Have they? And LOUKA says, no, sir, nothing like that. Okay. Again, while they are talking, Catherine comes. She hasn't seen her husband in months. Now she comes out to greet her husband. Let's see what Catherine looks like in this particular occasion. But I don't have a photo here, but I'll show it to you later. Anyway, Catherine, it's quite early in the day anyway. They have just had breakfast. So she hasn't had a chance to get ready and get dressed and all. So she is wearing a half worn out dressing gown. ഒരു പഴയ ഒരു dressing gown ഇട്ട് അതിന് മുകളിലായിട്ട് she is wearing a Bulgarian apron over it. And she also has a colorful handkerchief tied over her hair. And she hasn't had a chance to wear shoes or socks. So she is wearing slippers on her barefoot. She is a very handsome woman. Now she has come back. So we see the reunion between Catherine and Petkoff. They haven't seen each other in months. And they exchange pleasantries first of all. Here she says, my dear Paul, what a surprise. You didn't even tell us that you are coming back. Now Petkoff says what he has been doing. So he gives news about the end of the war, how the war ended. So he gives information that 3 days ago, a treaty was signed in the town of Bucharest. So in the town of Bucharest, a treaty was signed 3 days ago. Now Catherine is outraged at this. So she's like, ആരോട് ചോദിച്ചിട്ട് peace treaty sign ചെയ്തു? Who made you sign the peace treaty? We were winning fair and square. Why did you even sign a peace treaty? Now why is Catherine getting so angry about the peace treaty? We know that women in Bulgaria at this point of time, they have heard about war only through stories and tales narrated by men who have been in the battlefield. And they don't always give a realistic picture about the battlefield. They always give a romantic and idealistic view of the battlefield. So for women, the mere signing of peace treaty means that it is an act of a coward. So according to Catherine, they never should have signed a peace treaty. So she is quite enraged at Bulgaria signing the peace treaty with Serbia. And she says that if it was me, I wouldn't have signed the peace treaty. I wouldn't have maintained any friendly relations with them. I would have even annexed Serbia to Bulgaria and made Prince Alexander Emperor of the Balkans. That is what she's saying. So, ഞാൻ എന്ത് ചെയ്തേനെ സെർബിയ അനക്സ് ചെയ്ത് ബൾഗേറിയയോട് കൂടെ ചേർക്കുമായിരുന്നു. എന്നിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ രാജാവ് പ്രിൻസ് അലക്സാണ്ടറിനെ ഈ മൊത്തം ബോൾക്കൻസിന്റെ രാജാവാക്കി എംപറർ ആക്കി ഞാൻ വാഴിക്കുമായിരുന്നു. സോ ഷീ ഹാസ് ദിസ് ലോഫ്റ്റി ഐഡിയൽസ് അബൌട്ട് വാർ ആൻഡ് ഹൗ വാർ വർക്ക്സ്. So we see such romantic ideals of women in this. But for these people, they maintain that once two countries enter into war with each other, they must be eternally enemies. You know the situation about India and Pakistan. We have all these political tensions in the borders between these two countries. So whenever a cricket match takes place, we see these animosities represented there too. We can, it's like even the media portrays it in such a way that it makes us feel that these two countries can never have friendly relations. But that is more or less propagated by the media. It ideally doesn't have to be like that. So we see such a turn of events even here when Catherine is outraged at the peace treaty between Serbia and Bulgaria. So Catherine, again, these two, Petkoff and Catherine, they continue their conversation. Now, Petkoff എന്തൊക്കെയുണ്ട് വിശേഷം എന്നൊക്കെ ചോദിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. What is happening here in the household? Now, Catherine says that nothing, everything is going on well. I just have a sore throat. ചെറിയൊരു തൊണ്ടവേദനയുണ്ട്. Now, Petkoff is saying that it is because of her abominable habit of bathing every day. അതെങ്ങനെയാ? എല്ലാ ദിവസവും അങ്ങ് കുളിക്കുമല്ലേ, ഇങ്ങനെ കുളിക്കുന്നതുകൊണ്ടായി ഇങ്ങനെ പനിയും തൊണ്ടവേദനയൊക്കെ വരുന്നത് എന്ന് പറയും. Petkoff, we can see that he has his lack of manners that is shown here. So Shaw is actually creating laughter among the audience at the expense of Petkoff. Petkoff is actually a representative of the nouveau riche class. That is people who have acquired wealth quite recently. They have wealth and riches, but they don't have the manners of the upper class. So for Petkoff, bathing every day is too much. So he even says that my father, he never took a bath in his life. And he lived to be very well healthy. He died when he was 98. And he never took a bath in his life. So he gives such anecdotes about his father. And then, he even says that when I was in the army at Philippopolis, I met an Englishman. He used to wash his face every morning. First thing he gets up, he goes to the tap and he washes his face. Such a bad habit it is. ഈ മുഖം കഴുകുന്നതും കുളിക്കുന്നതൊക്കെ എന്തൊരു വൃത്തികെട്ട ഏർപ്പാടുകളാണ് എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. So here Shaw is creating laughter. He is again, let's look at this quotation by him, by Petkoff. I don't mind a good wash once a week to keep up my position, but once a day is carrying the thing to a ridiculous extreme. So once a week I can take a bath, take a shower or a bath just to keep up my position. I am, after all, I belong to the upper class. So I have to keep up my position. So that's the only reason you should take a shower, so that you will be keeping your class or position. But having a bath every single day, that is ridiculous. It is quite extreme. It is too much and I won't do it. Now again, Shaw is poking fun at the upper class manners, and his characteristic wit sparkles through all these portions. Okay. Now Catherine says that, okay, you don't even have manners. Even at this point, you are now an army major. I hope you haven't made a fool of yourself in front of your Russian officers. ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള അബദ്ധങ്ങളൊന്നും ആ റഷ്യൻ ഓഫീസേഴ്സിന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ പോയി പറഞ്ഞില്ലല്ലോ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് Petkoff പറയാണ്, no, actually with the Russians I did my best to uphold our manners and everything. I even told them that we have a library. So earlier in first act also we saw that Raina was boasting that her family has the only library, only private library in Bulgaria. Again, we see that for Petkov also it is a status symbol. Having a library in that household is actually a status symbol. I don't think any of them read except for romantic novels. But for them, having a library is actually a symbol of status and upper class belonging. Again, Catherine excitedly adds another information that she has installed a new electric bell in the household in addition to the existing library. Now, this guy, Petkov, he doesn't even know what an electric bell is. So, what exactly is it? So, Catherine says that, so you touch a button. So, there is a button in the library. You touch that button, and there is a tinkling noise in the kitchen, and then Nicola will come up. So, Petkov doesn't understand the need for the electric bell. Why should we actually press the button? We can just shout for him, Nicola, Nicola, എന്ന് വിളിച്ചാൽ പോരെ നിക്കോള വരത്തില്ലേ അപ്പൊ again Catherine is giving a lesson. Civilized people never shout for their servants. I've learned that while you were away. So we get the feeling that they are slowly learning how to belong to the upper class. They don't completely understand the manners of the upper class. Again, when they are talking like this, Petkov points out that civilized people don't hang up their clothes for everyone to see. So all these are symbols of status, like having an electric bell, having a library, having a staircase, having 2-story houses, and not showing off your washing, etc. So while they are talking, we hear Sergius's voice. So we have heard about this character Sergius all over in Act 1. So we finally hear Sergius's voice at the gate. Now when Sergius's voice is heard, and Nicola also announces Major Sergius SARANOFF is coming. Okay, now Nicola announces that Sergius is outside, so he's going to come in soon. Now, Petkov expresses boredom. He says it's quite boring to talk to that Sergius guy. So, what is the relationship between them? Sergius is actually engaged to marry their daughter, Raina. So, even though Sergius is his future son-in-law, Petkov is not very excited to meet Sergius at this point of time. Petkov says that, please, my dear Catherine, just talk to me. He really bores me. I don't really like talking to him. He's quite a boring person. So you handle him. I don't want to talk to him at all. Catherine's, and also he keeps on pestering me because we did not promote him after the battle. So at the Battle of Slivnitsa, he was the reason why they were victorious. But he didn't get a promotion after that. Why didn't he get a promotion? We already know the answer. Because even though he got the victory, he did it by unprofessional means. Now, Catherine is actually vouching for Sergius. Catherine says that he definitely needs to be promoted. Besides, we need at least one Bulgarian general in the army. So, he is now a major. He has to become a general. He has to given promotion. Now, Petkoffിന്റെ സംസാരത്തിൽ നിന്ന് നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും ആർമിക്കകത്തൊരു സംസാരമുണ്ട് that Sergius's action was not professional and that is why he was not given the promotion. Petkoff says that if we made him a general, he will actually throw away whole brigades instead of regiments. Now, he actually threw away a cavalry regiment in front of artillery. But if we make him a general, he will throw away whole brigade. A brigade is a higher unit, a larger unit than a regiment. So that is quite a risk. That is why we have not promoted him, and he doesn't have the slightest chance of promotion because he did something extremely unprofessional. So we see Petkoff's attitude towards Sergius. It suggests that in the army, everyone was impatient about Sergius's actions because it was really unprofessional. Now, finally, we see Major Sergius SARANOFF. There's a long description about him and his appearance. He's tall, he's romantically handsome, high-spirited, imaginative, civilized. He has all the manners which Major Petkoff doesn't have. And he has wonderful features too. Like, he's extremely handsome. and he has all the romantic ideals of Byron, like the poet Byron. ബൈറന്റെ പോയട്രിയിലൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന ഹീറോയുടെ എല്ലാ ഐഡിയൽസും ഉള്ള ഒരു ഹീറോ ആണ് സർജിയസ്. But at the same time, he is aware of his own failures and shortcomings, but he is very proud too. He is scornful of humanity. He is very proud of his own ideas, and he considers whoever doesn't follow his ideas as lesser men. And another thing about him is that he possesses good observation skills. He is quite aware of the disillusions of the world. That is why he has a half tragic and half ironic air. So even though he knows about the disillusions of the world, he always acts like he is the perfect romantic hero. അയാൾക്ക് അറിയാം ചുറ്റുമുള്ള ലോകം എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുള്ളത്, പക്ഷെ അയാൾ റൈനയുടെ മുന്നിലും കാത്രിന്റെ മുന്നിലുമൊക്കെ ഒരു ഐഡിയൽ റൊമാൻറ്റിക് ഹീറോ ആയിട്ടാണ് അഭിനയിക്കുന്നത്. So he is the absolute picture of Raina's ideal hero. So let's stop this video here. So we will discuss with the next part of Act 2 in the next video. So I hope this was beneficial to you. This is another turn of events after Major SARANOFF arrives. So we will read all about it in the next video. Bye.